Law 22. Use the surrender tactic. Transform weakness into power. When faced with overwhelming opposition, resisting for the sake of honor is futile. Surrender creates time to regroup, weakens the enemy's position over time, and allows for a strategic comeback. By submitting rather than engaging in direct conflict, control shifts subtly, often unsettling the victor who expected a fight. True power lies not in prideful resistance, but in the patient use of time and positioning. Transgression of the law. The people of Melos, an island caught between the powers of Athens and Sparta, refused to submit to Athenian rule despite their clear disadvantage. They placed their faith in Sparta's aid and the righteousness of their cause, rather than in strategic calculation. When the Athenians attacked, Melos resisted but was ultimately conquered, its people slaughtered or enslaved. This example illustrates the danger of choosing honor over survival. The Melians could have used surrender as a means of preserving their people and waiting for a more opportune time to resist. By stubbornly insisting on their principles rather than assessing reality, they ensured their own destruction. True power often comes from patience, adaptation, and the long game, rather than immediate defiance. Observance of the law. Bertolt Brecht, a German communist writer, faced interrogation by the US Congress during the anti-communist investigations of the 1940s. Unlike his peers, who resisted and were blacklisted, Brecht chose a different approach. He appeared cooperative, answered questions with ambiguous yet polite responses, and used an interpreter to dilute his words' impact. This disarmed the committee, and he left the US unscathed. This example illustrates that surrender does not mean true submission. It can be a strategy for survival. Brecht did not abandon his beliefs. He simply avoided direct confrontation, ensuring his continued freedom to write and influence. Those who fight openly may win moral victories, but those who yield wisely maintain their ability to act and thrive. Keys to power. The greatest mistake in a power struggle is reacting emotionally and aggressively. Opponents expect resistance, and responding with force feeds the cycle of conflict. By choosing to yield, one confuses and neutralizes the enemy, shifting the power dynamic in a way that allows for strategic repositioning. Surrender is not defeat, but a tactical pause. Like a predator playing dead, it buys time to assess, plan, and counterattack when the opportunity is right. The ability to appear weak while remaining internally strong is a skill that turns temporary setbacks into eventual dominance. Running away often leads to being hunted down, but surrendering allows for closer observation of the enemy. Historical figures like King Gujian of Yue exemplified this, using submission as a way to study and later overthrow his oppressors. Those who stay close to their opponents can strike when they least expect it. Japan's strategy in the 19th century demonstrated the power of strategic assimilation. Instead of resisting foreign influence, they adapted, learned, and eventually outpaced their competitors. By outwardly complying while inwardly strengthening, nations and individuals can turn moments of vulnerability into long-term advantage. Surrender can be a tool of subversive defiance. Like prisoners who mock their guards by over-obeying, submission can highlight the absurdity of an oppressor's authority. Sometimes the best form of resistance is playing the role of the obedient servant while secretly undermining the system from within. Power is never permanent. Those who dominate today will eventually fall. By mastering the surrender tactic, one can outlast and outmaneuver those who seem invincible. The ability to wait for the pendulum to swing back is one of the greatest strengths in the game of power. reversal of the law. Surrender is meant to preserve life and create future opportunities, but in rare cases, martyrdom becomes the only viable path. Dying for a cause may inspire others and create long-term influence, but it is unpredictable and comes at the cost of one's existence. True power is found not in sacrifice for glory, but in staying alive long enough to shape the future when the tides turn.